everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. I'm your host, George Coach, by the one and only Cody Roadcap. How you doing today, Cody?
I'm doing fantastic.
Fantastic. Sounds good. I only slightly hate you tonight. I mean, we're starting to get into it. Monday's going to be a blast.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even have time to think that I don't like you. I mean, I don't like you any day of the week, but especially Packers Eagles week. Now, if it was Packers Chargers week, we wouldn't be talking.
Make sure you follow us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. You can drop your fantasy questions in our DMs or in the comments when we're live Monday and Thursday at 6:30 East. Good joke, Cody. I had to try to ignore it, but I couldn't.
I mean, I think I see the shirt.
I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about. It was up in the rotation, I guess. I don't know.
You just can't let it go. It's like the girlfriend you can't quit, or the boyfriend, whichever way you swing.
We don't judge here. Anyway, Mondays and Thursdays, 6:30 East, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can ask us questions live. Drop them in the comments. In the meantime, Cody, what is happening? Trade deadline wrapped up on Tuesday. We covered a couple of things, but there were a couple of moves that we were not expecting as many as there were, honestly. What was your over-under? 3.5? And we had 10 moves after we got off the air? Yeah, crazy. One of the busiest trade deadlines in NFL history, if I remember seeing the stats correctly. You and I can kind of go over some of the big moves. The biggest name traded, Sauce Gardner, leaving the Jets, going to the Colts. Adonai Mitchell and some picks going back in that one. The Jets were major sellers at the deadline.
Yeah, they were major sellers, and I know we went back and forth a little bit in our group chat about was it a good move for the Jets? And look, it's never a good move to give up star players. Now, people could argue that Sauce Gardner may have taken a step back from the years that could have just been playing on the Jets. I expect him to still be very good for the Colts. Is he 2 first-round picks plus Adonai Mitchell good? That's where it's like, did you have to overpay because you're at the deadline? And does it make sense for the Colts? Like, I know they're currently sitting atop of the AFC, but like, are they going to re-sign Daniel Jones this offseason? Like, are we really going all in with this team? I mean, more power to him. And then of course, the Jets also moved Quinnen Williams, which actually, if you had asked me, I would say he was the better player that got moved out of the two.
It's not the name.
But they're both very good players. But he went for what, a second round pick this year and a first round pick in 2027, which would be the higher of the two between the Cowboys and the Packers, I guess. Whichever one of those is the higher one will go to the Jets. So it also locks up both of those picks because they can't trade that next year or anything like that. So that's a fun little quirk there. But those are the two big names.
Definitely. The Cowboys got Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, linebacker from the Bengals. But the Jets selling two big names, really stocking up the shelves, but they didn't move on from Breece Hall, who seemed pretty upset about the situation on X too.
Yeah, and that situation seems to everything that I've heard, seen, read, heard you get the point. It was they wanted a third round pick. No team would give them. I believe the Chiefs had the best offer at a fourth, but they wouldn't go up to a third, and they're just like, we're just gonna keep him then, and kind of play the game of like, well, he's our best player. If he gets a big contract next year, maybe that gets us a third round compensatory pick. If it's a fourth, it's no harm, no foul. So I still don't expect them to like re-sign Breece Hall. And I understand not wanting to give up a third for a 1-year running back rental. But I was kind of surprised that he didn't get moved.
Yeah, I guess the compensatory pick formula kind of makes sense when you say it that way. He's going to definitely demand some money in free agency. I don't think there's any denying that. I'm interested to see how the market's going to go towards him, but it's kind of unfortunate that we have to sit with him for the rest of this year on a struggling Jets offense.
Or you could be like George and get a random offer on a Tuesday, 2 first-round picks in a dynasty league for Breece Hall, and just be like, am I missing something? Why would I not accept this? It was kind of like
yeah. Well, when you see something come through for 2 first-round picks for a single player, There's very few players who demand that, and Brees Hall doesn't feel like that guy. So can you blame me?
No, I was like, he was like, dude, what do you think of this kind of thing? He's like, and I was like, you didn't hit accept already? And he was just like, I had to make sure I wasn't missing something. Like, then I double checked. No, you're not giving up the 2 first-round picks. And
No,
so good
no,
trade
yeah,
for you.
mhm.
So he
Yeah.
got moved in our dynasty league, just not in the NFL.
Yeah, and him not getting moved to the NFL definitely probably hurt the person who was trying to get Brees Hall. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, couple other moves. One more defensive move. We don't touch on them too much. Jalen Phillips, the edge, got traded to the Eagles from the Dolphins. So the Eagles now added a couple corners and a couple edge rushers. If you had adding Brandon Graham back in the mix.
Yeah, I think Jalen Phillips is the best move of all. The Brandon Graham one, that's a good story. But his age just showed up before. He'll turn it on in the playoffs. We all know that. The Jair thing, can't stay healthy. Where is he at? Doesn't move the needle too much for me. I know you just prefer a cornerback thing, but this Jalen Phillips one, very underrated player, a very good player, and I think he'll fit that Vic Fangio scheme. And honestly, one of the few players that Vic Fangio liked during his time in Miami. So that's also a positive.
Yeah, you got to figure since he had familiarity with people on that defense, he wasn't going to trade for somebody that was having a problem with him. Because it
Yeah.
seemed like a lot of people on that defense had a problem with him when he was in Miami. There were a couple of offensive players traded, but I want to hit a fan question first from Twitch. Adam said, "Who should I start this week? Bo Nix or Caleb Williams in a full PPR? I mean, quarterback doesn't matter for the
Hey,
PPR."
Caleb got 2 passes last week, so I get the question.
Oh, okay, good point.
Um, for me, like on the surface, I think I know it hasn't been pretty. I know Bo Nix does not feel very good because a lot of times he has a slow first half, slow uh game, but they go up against the Raiders this week on Thursday Night Football at home. I think I would lean Bo Nix. I know again, Caleb just had a big game. They get to go play the Giants this week as well. So I think both are plus matchups. But Bo Nix is currently QB5 on the season. So it hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been great, but I would go with Bo Nix this week.
The only thing that concerns me with Bo Nix is, are they going to get so far up so early that it's going to be the J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey show?
Nah, it's divisional. Thursday night. Their games are always weird.
That's true. Thursday night does help. Divisional helps. I was leaning Bo Nix anyway. I just kind of wanted to see your thoughts there. So hope that helps. And both in good matchups, honestly, both good plays this week. Two receivers traded at the deadline. No one really big, but the biggest one was Jacoby Myers going to the Jags. Obviously, Jacoby Myers wanted the trade in the preseason. They waited it out till the trade deadline. Goes to a Jags team who's extremely banged up right now. He has a chance to jump in and work right away.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would like throw him in a fantasy lineup or anything first week in a new system, but if you tell me he ends up on the field and gets involved quick and acclimated fast, I wouldn't be surprised just because of those injuries. Obviously, Travis Hunter is on IR. We have the ankle injury for Brian Thomas Jr., who was not able to play in overtime last year. Or last week, excuse me. So now you're talking like Parker Washington, Tim Jones, and throw Jacoby Myers in the mix. Still a very solid wide receiver, and may prove to be like a security blanket for Trevor Lawrence as we head down the stretch.
Obviously, we don't know how many weeks that Travis Hunter is going to miss because they did get good news on his knee injury that it's not as severe as they expected. But he's missing at least 3 more games. He could miss beyond that. Jacoby Myers might be very important to the Jags as a wide receiver too, even behind Brian Thomas as they go down the stretch to try to make a playoff run because they're in that contention right now.
And I also think too, like obviously they're going to get Brian Thomas Jr. back, and I think Travis Hunter is very talented. I still think they prefer to play him on defense. I think
So
that's where,
adding Myers gives them that flexibility now.
yeah, like he can still play more defense. I know they've gone back and forth week to week, matchup to matchup. It's been hit or miss, and they started leaning him on the offensive side because they were getting more banged up. But I think Jacoby Myers comes in, pairs with Brian Thomas Jr. when he's back and good to go, and he might even be back this week. And then once Hunter's back, Hunter becomes wide receiver 3, comes in on key passing downs, your third downs and stuff like that, but then can focus on playing defense. And I think that's the way to go.
Definitely. I mean, I didn't think more about him playing defense, but it makes sense when you figure they have the weapons. They have Parker Washington on the breakout. They have that flexibility now. That's very true. The other wide receiver move before we get out of trades, Rashid Shaheed was moved from the Saints to the Seahawks. Seems like a solid field stretching kind of wide receiver to complement that Seahawks passing game. But maybe not the biggest move. I don't expect a whole lot out of him, but I would think he has more upside now than he did in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know. Even like Torrey Horton's had a little bit of a breakout over the last couple weeks. Like I still expect him to continue to ascend and not going to, rush out to start Rashid Shaheed. But the Seahawks and Sam Darnold in particular is completing passes down the field at like a record pace rate. I'm expecting some of that to come back to the median as we progress through the rest of the season. But getting a field stretcher like that, perfect compliment for a guy like JSN. I do like the fit a lot there for Seattle.
Definitely. One more fan question here before we jump to injuries. Generations on Twitch. RJ Harvey, Romeo Dobbs, Trey Tucker, Alec Pierce, or Tez for the flex position PPR.
So just one of those.
Just one, it seems like.
Since it's PPR, I think I would give the slight edge to Dobbs. Coming off a game with 10 targets, not having Tucker Craft, excuse me. I would give the edge there. RJ's in a plus matchup. I don't like Trey Tucker at all going up against the Broncos, so he is completely out for me. Ibuka is going to be back. We don't know about. I don't think Godwin is going to be back yet.
It doesn't look like Godwin's going to be back. He's DNP twice.
So Tez is interesting, but I think there's too many other pieces there where like Dobbs is like the number one guy. And then Alec Pierce, I think that's a coin flip between him and RJ. So I would go Dobbs, RJ, Alex Pierce, and then the other two can be set to the side.
Yeah, you and I are pretty much on the same page. I wonder how the Eagles are going to play the Packers wide receivers, if they're going to have, a shadow on Dobbs or if it's just going to be playing sides, since there's not really like a true number one there. I mean, I guess Dobbs would be that guy if you had to pick, but it's not like they have a Justin Jefferson or something like that. But I think because of targets and the fact it's PPR, I'm going Dobbs. RJ, just because he's RB2, he's very touchdown dependent still, and he's been scoring a lot of them. So, like, you have to think there's a chance, especially in this matchup, but I don't really love it. I also put Alec Pierce in that touchdown dependent category at this point. So I'll go Dobbs. Think it's probably the safest pick of the bunch.
All righty. Should we start breaking down some of these injuries?
We should. And why don't we start with quarterbacks and start in Arizona, where Kyler Murray was put on injured reserve kind of seemingly out of nowhere with his turf toe injury, or I guess I don't know if it was a turf toe or a midfoot injury, but they kind of said they are worried about him going back out on the field too soon because he has a very high risk of re-injury. And even though he's missed, I think it's 3 weeks now, they decided to shut him down for another 4. So Jacoby Brissett keeping the starting job. I was questioning if they're going to keep Jacoby Brissett in there anyway. Maybe it's just a way to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Kyler's not going to play quarterback for Arizona anymore. I don't know if he'll come off the IR unless like Brissett, falls apart. But he's looked good in the last couple games. They got a win over the Cowboys. Yes, they try to claw their way back into a deep NFC, which would be very tough. But they're going to try to make an effort for them. But Kyler Murray is one of those guys that definitely seems like he is on his way out. Needs a refresh, new start. Whether that's the Jets trying another veteran quarterback in the offseason, maybe the Dolphins, flip him for Tua. I'm not saying they're doing that straight like a trade, but they want out of Tua. They're going to try something different with Kyler Murray. Maybe even Pittsburgh, like if Rodgers hangs it up and they want to, they have like a veteran team, they want to keep the veteran rolling instead of turning to a rookie. Like I think there might be some teams interested in a guy like Kyler Murray's service. I just don't think it'll be in Arizona anymore. And yes, I do think he is injured. But I think the way Brissett has played made it very easy to be like, hey, we're just going to put him on IR and we'll let Brissett run this thing out.
Yeah, it's kind of the least friction way of making that divorce happen. And a lot of people expect Kyler Murray to be going elsewhere after this season because of the, hasn't been performing super well. This coaching staff, it's not their quarterback. Like, interested to see how that comes out. But I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't start again this year either, which is very sad to see. But I don't know if he's going to stay on IR, if they're eventually just going to put him in there as like the emergency third or the backup. I guess that depends on how Brissett is playing going forward. I think this actually kind of works out for Marvin Harrison, though.
No, I think it works out for Harrison. Obviously, McBride was already there, but I think that even benefits him a little bit. I was going to say I need Spot Track to, dive deep into that contract and tell me if there's like an injury clause that something becomes guaranteed, like we've seen the last couple of years with quarterbacks at the end of the season getting shut down. I'd be interested to see how that all plays out, but he's injured now too. So how does that play a factor into it?
Yeah, it's like if he gets healthy by that point and they just don't play him, is it still fine or is it because he got hurt? That's interesting. I don't know how that would work.
And then the last thing, I did see it online, and obviously it was probably, it was sarcasm. But Kyler Murray has been in the league for a while, but he's still only 28 years old. And he was a top 10 MLB pick. And the Oakland A's still have, or excuse me, the A's.
Yeah, you're right. They don't have a city.
They still have his rights. So, and 25 is the average year for debut. So he's not too far off of that. So could he make the switch back to baseball? And I think depending on how this offseason goes, like I'd say it's a slim chance, but I wouldn't be like if he can't find a starting job, if he's like, hey, you can go be a backup somewhere, like what's stopping him from being like, all right, football is fun. Let me go try playing baseball.
It's true. He would probably get a decent contract even in the minors on the way up just because of him being a big prospect. 28, give him a year and a half to work up to the majors. He could still have a decent career, especially as, a baseball player you can play into your later 30s. I said this before he was drafted in the NFL and then decided to play in the NFL. I was surprised he didn't go to play baseball just because of the money there.
Do you think he can play today's game? And when I say that, it's all the home runs. Like it's not about batting. I mean, I don't know anything about his baseball career, but I'm just going off of his stature in today's league. Could he jack 25 home runs? I'm not sure if he could.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm trying to figure out. He was a outfielder.
I assume
one of the few positions that, like, if he has the speed still, he probably could get away with it being a base stealer, but I don't know.
He's also like on the shorter side. So in the MLB, how well is that for stealing bases too? It's a fascinating conundrum, but this is a football podcast. Let's get back to talking football.
Let's talk about another frustrating quarterback situation. Brock Purdy, limited participant in practice. Tell me where you've heard this before. I feel like I've said this for the last 4 weeks. But we're still unsure who's going to start for the 49ers this weekend. I think they're also just being very cautious with his foot injury. He also had a foot injury that got sore after he last came back, and he was dealing with a couple other things as well. I don't want to even speculate on what's going on there until we finally hear more, probably tomorrow on the final injury report.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not going to speculate who's going to start either. But I let me ask you this, because I've seen Brock Purdy get dropped in a lot of the leagues that I'm in. He's sitting on the waiver wires because he hasn't been playing for the last couple weeks. Buys are a big thing right now. It's hard to keep injured quarterbacks on your team. If he does go, knowing what we've seen out of Brock Purdy, like, is he a guy that you can put right back in your lineup?
I think so. There's actually even a couple other times before this week where I was like, there's a chance he comes back and plays, and I was ready to throw him right in my lineup. Like, he started the season very well. Even in the game he played injured, he still scored, I think it was all 15 or 16 fantasy points. So even though they have a bad matchup against the Rams, I still think I'm okay with throwing him in the lineup. And he's somebody I'm still keeping an eye on in some of those leagues where I'm quarterback needy. I have a couple leagues where I drafted my starter as Kyler Murray, and I've been kind of moving around on guys like Sam Darnold, or I grabbed Jackson Dart in one of those leagues. Now I'm looking a little bit better, but he's someone who I can kind of see as a longer term solution. So definitely keep an eye on it at least.
Yeah, in the league that I have Kyler Murray, I was lucky enough to get Sam Darnold to be my starter this week. But I saw Brock Purdy there, and I was like, I don't have the space to hold both quarterbacks, but that's a name I'm definitely going to pay attention to if he is healthy.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I can feel free to play a little like this guy or that guy this week if you want to. Like Darnold, I would probably play Darnold instead because I think it's safer right now, but Purdy is still not a bad play over a lot of the guys that are even more widely available.
What else we got?
Going to running backs, hitting really quick. Ramondre Stevenson has not participated in practice with his injury. I think he's in major doubt to play this week. And then James Cook, who everyone seemed very concerned about playing this week, back on Monday, logged a limited participation in practice today, and it sounds like he's expecting to go.
All right. Hypothetical. They want to be extra cautious, decide we're not gonna play him. How does that elevate the other Bills running backs in your mind? Is Ray Davis able to go in your lineup? Are you worried it's going to be too much of a committee if it's not James Cook? What are your thoughts on that?
I think personally I've seen enough of Ray Davis when Cook's been out previously that I'm comfortable going to him. It's going to be a little bit of a split regardless, but I'm confident going Ray Davis.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am at as well.
Going on to wide receivers, Garrett Wilson should be back for the Jets this week due to his knee injury. Terry McLaurin still not expected to play this week. It's been such a roller coaster with him this year. Makes a great touchdown catch in the one game he plays, and he's out again. And then for the Jags, Brian Thomas and De'Ami Brown both likely to miss this week. We kind of mentioned both of them earlier when we were talking about the trade for Jacoby Myers. But big Parker Washington week, I guess.
Yeah, he'll be in for it as well. Tim Jones, Tim Patrick. If Tim Patrick's even healthy, I know he was banged up too.
Patrick's on the Lions.
No, he's on the Jaguars.
No, he's not.
This is going to be where he looks up and be like, oh, he did go there this offseason after being on the Lions.
He is on there, but I did not see him on their depth chart earlier this week when I looked.
That's why I was like, it wasn't Tim Patrick. I knew it wasn't Tim Patrick when I was talking about it on Monday's show, but that's who I saw. And I was like, it was not. And then you said Tim Jones. I was like, yeah, that's who it was. But yeah, he is on there for now.
Yeah.
George's mind is blown.
But
he hasn't done anything. So George thought he was still on the Lions, which is safe to say.
Austin Trammell week. No, Parker Washington's the guy anyway. But fun to see Tim Patrick still around. Mr. 3 first names himself.
All right. And then the Eagles have full practice for A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley for the Monday night game as they put out their first practice report today.
Yep. Seems like they're both safe to go back in your lineup. And if you have nothing else to add to injuries, Cody, we can start moving ourselves on to starts and sits.
Since we'll talk more about it on Monday's show, but Matthew Golden did come back limited as well. Not that he's been like a big fantasy thing, but that's just another piece. And I believe Dontavian Wicks as well. So a couple other wide receivers thrown in the mix without Tucker Kraft. But now we can do starts with the
Bye weeks this week, we got 4: Bengals, Cowboys, Chiefs, and Titans. And I know we looked earlier this week and was like, okay, at least it's not like the biggest of the bye weeks. I feel like this one's hitting worse than I expected it to. And there's even a couple people I talked to, like I got 2 people left on my bench this week. And injuries aren't helping that either, but still.
It's still not as bad for me as the 6 game one 2 weeks ago. Where
even more injuries and still 6 people, or 6 teams.
Where I had to like basically be like, all right, I'm not playing a flex because I'm not cutting anybody for a 1 week spot start of random wide receiver Jalen Coker. Like, wasn't doing that. So
yeah, it was a great time.
A little bit better this week. But for my first start of the week, again, we do a running back, a wide receiver, and a flex. A flex does not mean the flex position. It just means we can pick whichever position we want. I feel so bold doing this. This one could come back and bite me. But we talked about Ramondre Stevenson still being banged up. I'm going to ride with Travion Henderson. It's an okay matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're really good on the inside, but that's not where Travion Henderson uh, does most of his work. When they get him outside and in space, he's coming off his season high in attempts after last week with the injury. His second highest fantasy point game. Still didn't get in the end zone last week. Maybe that changes this week. The Patriots are rolling. I'm going to take Travion Henderson as my start of the week.
I hope you're right. I hope you're
And I'm
speaking into
clenched.
existence.
I'm trying. I should have told you to pick it because that would help my roster a lot better.
Yeah, that's true. I've been calling a couple of things lately. Terrell Jennings will probably get the touchdown again, like he did last week. But at least Henderson got the carries. He was at least kind of effective. Like, it was good to see a step in the right direction. And because we're not expecting Ramondre Stevenson, I don't think it's a bad pick.
All right. And then, so I did want to mention this with Travion Henderson. And even if you're not like starting him, it's a guy you should pay attention to. Just if he starts to come on strong this week, another week without Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots do the week 14 bye, which is going to stink if you need a win to get in. But between now and week 14, he gets the Jets, Bengals, Giants.
Oh.
Turn that around for the playoff schedule. Buffalo, Baltimore, the Jets. Buffalo, Baltimore sounds crazy, but they're all green matchups for running backs. So
wow,
he is all green rest of season at past this week. So if he can turn it on, he could be a guy that, could be one of those league winners, maybe a guy you're going to go out and try to trade low on. Maybe if he has a down week, you still try to trade low and then just let him ride your bench if something happens. So keep that in the back of your mind.
I like the insight, Cody, and hopefully we start to see consistent carries out of him even after Stevenson gets back, but we're probably not going to be able to find out this week what the case is there. Fan question?
Of course.
JR Smile on YouTube. Sharp or RJ Harvey full PPR?
Oh, man.
I hate Sharp with a passion. And both are touchdown dependent. Sharp gets a lot of red zone touches, but I think I'm going RJ Harvey in the better matchup, who's also been very good at scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm just looking up some quick stats here to help because you are full point PPR, trying to see like how one-sided or not the targets are. If my page will load. Fun fact, Fantasy Pros has them currently ranked, which you can take their advice for whatever you want, as 25 and 26, giving the slight edge to RJ Harvey. That's where I would go as well. He did have 5 targets last week.
Charbonnet is not really the pass catching guy.
Yeah.
He's more the hammer. So
yeah, I would go RJ Harvey, and hopefully they get a touchdown. It's also slightly a better matchup in terms of the defense as well. So RJ it is.
All right, we're in agreement there, and I want to move to my running back start of the week. We are looking at the Bears running backs for me. Obviously, great matchup against the Giants. We don't quite know the status of DeAndre Swift yet, but it's trending good for him. So I think he's right back in your lineup and a good shot to play well if he's back. If not, you're throwing Monangai right in your lineup, and he's a good fill-in. If both play, I'm kind of concerned about playing Monangai, but I do think there's gonna be carries for him now after how well he's been doing.
I mean, he's been getting involved before his breakout game when he was the guy too. So honestly, I think this is a week if they're both go, you can play them because I don't think they'll give Swift his full workload. So, but it's a good enough matchup that you're going to take the risk on playing both.
Yeah. I mean, there should be the points to go around for both. So I'm still like fading Monangai slightly, but I'm not saying you have to bench him, but you don't have to play him either if Swift goes. I mean, maybe best case scenario if you have both guys is if Swift is out and Monangai gets this good start.
All right. My wide receiver start of the week.
If you don't mind. Follow up from the Charber RJ Harvey question. Are we worried about if the Broncos blow out the Raiders that the Broncos will be run heavy, which favors JK? I don't necessarily think that favors JK.
Yeah, not enough to to play Charbonnet.
Harvey's been getting carries in blowouts as well. I don't think they changed their split that much. And if it gets that out of hand,
They'll
I
want to
think
get
they're giving more carries to the rookie than they are JK.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Cool. Sorry, go ahead with your wide receiver now.
It's okay. So my wide receiver start of the week is one Mr. Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Packers. Now, the Packers defense has been doing a decent job at limiting points outside of that one game against the Cowboys where they tied 40-40. And they're just banged up at corner right now a little bit, and their corners aren't playing very good. So I think they're going to try to cover AJ the best that they can. And I think that opens up for Devonta Smith. If I obviously can't stream him, I guess I could have put him in my flex spot, but I do think the Dallas Goedert will be in for a big game as well. But Devonta Smith was the pass catching option that I like. Honestly, just play your Eagles, even though it is a bad matchup in terms of the Packers defense being good, but I think they can be played for sure.
Yeah, honestly, the Packers' run defense is what concerns me more, but you're not sitting Saquon Barkley if Saquon Barkley's going. And it's at the point where if they play Monday night, you're expecting to play Saquon Barkley. If he's a surprise and active, you're probably forced to play Tank Bigsby anyway. So
yeah, Barkley's playing. This isn't the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey. Oh, his caps are fine. Oh, Monday night gets here. He's going on IR.
No, he pulled a groin, looked like he wanted to come back in, and they were just like, no, we have a bye next week. So he seems like he's fine.
He should be good to go. It'll be like 27 degrees, though. Hopefully some snow. I don't think it's in the forecast, but that's what I'm hoping for.
It's going to be a early winter in Green Bay starting this weekend. And that's the nice thing about prime time in Green Bay is because you're going to get those cold ones even in November.
Mm-hmm. Who you
Wide
got?
receiver for me. I'm looking at Buffalo.
And you're going bold.
I am.
Not really. You're going bold as top guy, but
it feels bold because the top receiver in Buffalo should be Keon Coleman. And I'm going to keep putting him on the sit if we have to. I don't have him on my sit this week, but sit him. Khalil Shakur has been fairly consistent lately, popping up 10-point games. I believe it was either 2 or 3 in a row. So it seems like Josh Allen's going back to the safety blanket, and someone's got to catch passes if that offense is that successful, and it's Khalil Shakur.
I have no arguments. He's going to be the guy that people on TikTok are going to be like, bro, why'd you put Khalil Shakur?
Yeah,
and then
100%.
he'll have 18 points. Full PPR.
Full PPR, yeah. No, I mean, even if he ends up having a down game but scores a touchdown like he did a few weeks ago and scores 12, I'm going to be like, Khalil Shakur.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Flex. What do you got?
I'm not going to flex on camera, that's for sure. But I'm going bold too. I'm going Jameson Williams.
Ooh, he's not been great lately.
Talk about a roller coaster. He did get in the end zone last week, although they'll say it's because I have Packers stuff behind me. That was offensive pass interference, but they didn't win. The Vikings did. So that's, I guess, good. I don't know. It's terrible for everybody. But Jameson Williams going up against the Washington Commanders. They have some problems. Marshawn Lattimore not going to be there. Not that he's been doing much since he got to Washington. The quarterback injuries concern me. And because of that aforementioned loss by the Lions, they're going to be angry. They're going to want to come out and score some points. Like, this feels like they're going to be upset about last year's game too. Like, I'm expecting 40 points out of the Lions this week. And if they are going to score 40, you got to hope Jameson's getting 2 or 3 big plays, maybe a touchdown. And that's why he is my flex start of the week.
We've seen the Lions in a lot of games like this with the revenge narrative coming off of a loss, absolutely curb stomp teams. And I have no doubts they're going to do that here.
It's also the team that eliminated them last year too. Obviously,
Jane Daniels revenge narrative and then coming off a loss also. Like, there's 2 things there.
So hopefully they lose. Hopefully this is the worst thing I've ever said in my life.
You're reverse jinxing yourself. So you're going to be right in fantasy probably. At least we hope.
You know what? Jameson Williams has a good day. Lions still lose. That'll be good. The listeners are happy. I'm happy. We're good to go.
All right. Well, I figured I would throw an extra running back in my flex because we always end up going for receivers to running backs, I feel like, when we do this. So I wanted to give some love to Quinshawn Judkins, who, yes, he's been hurt and he's been kind of up and down, but he has. I was not ready with his matchup because I completely forgot in my head. The Jets. I don't think I have to say much more. The Browns offense isn't good, but the Jets defense is very bad.
And they traded their 2 best players. And they're
And
benching
Quinshawn
Quincy
Judkins has
Williams.
been a full participant in practice, so I'm not worried about the injury anymore either.
Yeah, I really like this one. They got rid of Quinnen Williams in the middle. They're going to bench former All-Pro Quincy Williams because they say he's not playing up to standard. And they don't have Sauce Gardner. So literally 3 people missing from each level of the defense. The Browns just want to hand the ball to Quinshawn Judkins and get out of there. I like this one a lot.
Cool. Getting some Browns in there because there's not many others I would play, even though we're in this situation. Maybe David Njoku, who I debated putting on my streams later but didn't. That's probably it for me. But
Dude, I like
Quinshawn
Bannon
Judkins
better.
beat.
So
Bannon's hurt. Sorry.
yeah, I still like him better.
He's pulled a hamstring and went from full to DNP. So
I still like him better. You're not getting
you're
the
gonna
joke.
love him better on the bench, man.
I'm saying him out. I still like better. You're not. It was a bad attempt at a joke, and you just it wouldn't land. I couldn't land it.
Give me your sits, because apparently one of them is David Njoku. But what else you got?
It is not. But I'm going for. We'll start with the running back spot here, and for my sit, I'm going to start with Vidal or whichever Chargers running back if you want to add in because he hasn't been that great as of late either. But I still think it's Vidal's job. So, but yeah, they lost Joe Alt. This team is not very good when he's been out. They lost their other tackle already, and they have a tough matchup. So I don't love the Chargers in this one because of that offensive line injuries, and I really don't like Vidal.
They did trade for a tackle, which is good news for their long-term success.
Yeah, great. Trevor Penning's not very good.
I mean, it's a tackle.
Yeah, so is like never mind. I'm not going to drop some random name Packer just because I can. I'll just move on.
Okay. I don't disagree either though. Vidal's been struggling a little bit. Doesn't feel like a great game for the Chargers offense going against the Steelers. I don't blame you. I am so Bucky is still not participating in practice. So we're looking at another Rachaad White week. And I think you especially, the first week that White was a starter, you threw him on the sit list and then you got ripped apart because he ran for 32 yards but scored 3 touchdowns. And I feel like that's what could end up happening here to me because he still hasn't been effective as a runner. His yardage numbers have been bad. His yards per carry have been not great. But he has been scoring touchdowns. He has a tough matchup against the Patriots defense. I'm saying sit Rachaad White, and then we'll see if he scores 3 touchdowns again.
Hopefully you've been better at this than I have been. So this season at least. So you'll probably be right.
Well, we'll see. I mean, hopefully you out there, if you have Rachaad White, you have other options with it not being the biggest bye week scenario. But we can move to wide receiver. What do you got?
Yeah, so we talked about him, being a little bit banged up, so that did play a little bit of factor into this. But even if he is healthy, I'm not putting Garrett Wilson back in my lineup this week. Obviously, they're going up against the Browns, which we talk about most weeks. Their defense is better than their record suggests. Justin Fields is putting running for his life, and I just don't trust him to get the ball to Garrett Wilson, who is already a little bit banged up. So I would not play him in his first week back.
Welcome to my one team where I am actually hit pretty badly by the bye weeks. Would you play Garrett Wilson or Keon Coleman?
Oh, buddy. Wow.
Javonte Williams and Rashee Rice being on bye is hurting a little bit. I had to pick up the insurance policy for Tank Bigsby, who I probably could drop now hearing it, but I don't know if the waiver wire is much better.
Geez, I guess in that case, you broke me. You got to play Garrett Wilson because Keon's done nothing since week 1, and we are now in double digits.
Mm-hmm.
But yikes.
Yeah. Top free agent options. Running back top options are either Devin Singletary or Nick Chubb.
No.
And then receivers, we got Alec Pierce or Tez Johnson.
Honestly, I think those 3 are all in like the same category of player. So not of like talent, but like of what they're going to put out. Tez Johnson might be the most like boom guy. Like he might catch that 60-yard touchdown. So if you need a flyer because you're on buys, maybe that case. But
at that point, you might as well play Garrett Wilson and just hope he shows the talent.
Yeah, but like this is also against the Browns where they have a good pass rush. It might not be as good as the Broncos, but it's Myles Garrett alone is very good. And against the Broncos, 2 weeks ago, the Jets had -10 net passing yards.
It's a fair statement.
So
sometimes.
Yeah, I think I might have
You would lean Tez Johnson?
I think I would. But I understand like it's Garrett Wilson, like if he's good to go, like he has talent too to break a tackle and take it. So
yeah. A tough situation. I just figured I'd try to corner you a little bit because I'm in a lot of I have a Garrett Wilson in 2 other leagues and he's on my bench. That's just the one where it was like I don't like my other options.
All right.
Cool.
Who do you got to sit?
Excuse me. My wide receiver sit is going back to the Steelers-Chargers game. I'm sitting DK Metcalf. He's been really frustrating so far because almost all of his output so far came in that one game over in, was it somewhere in Europe? I forget if that was the London game or if it was the Ireland game.
I think they played Ireland.
Yeah. He went off in that. Everyone jumped back on the bandwagon. But I mean, 91 points on the season, 21 of them coming in that game alone. He's been very up and down. He has a couple games over 10. He has some touchdowns, but last 3 weeks, 6-14 and 1. That 14 came with a touchdown against Green Bay. 1.6, a catch for 6 yards against Indy. That's a rough game. And he is not living up to the wide receiver 1 that he used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's still hasn't done it. So don't get me wrong. Like I am totally fine with this sit option. Like you mentioned, he has like been on a downward trajectory since that game in week 4. Literally been on a downward trajectory in that sense. However, he is a guy that can still take the top off if given the opportunity. It's not a terrible matchup. So
Chargers are actually a red matchup, 6th best against receivers. I was surprised to see that. I wasn't even going to include that until I actually looked at his card and realized it.
Yeah, I think they're more susceptible as of late too. All that to say, It is like I would play DK over Garrett Wilson.
Okay? Oh yeah, I agree with that.
but I like where you're coming from on this one. I'm not like, oh, this should be like, I'm not advocating to start him. No, I'm just saying like there is still like a world where he can score points because he only needs one play. But like so does Tez Johnson. So how do you feel about playing that?
Play Rashid Shaheed. He needs one play too. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Honestly, why not? That's a good matchup.
Who's your flex sit?
My flex sit, I'm going back to the Chargers.
Good. This game is all over this sit.
Yeah, I know.
This is great.
I forgot I picked the Chargers running back. I kind of thought maybe I should pivot off of Keenan Allen as my sit of the week just because the Steelers defense is pretty good. I already talked about the offensive line woes. Look no more to the last time that they were banged up and the Giants game, and they got 9 sacks or whatever obscure number it was against Justin Herbert. And Keenan Allen scored 3.7 points in fantasy, and he has only broken 6 points once since then.
Wow. How things have changed because we get Ladd McConkey back. I mean, he had a bad week last week too, and then everyone else fell off basically, except for Gadsden.
Yep, and Gadsden's in there now.
Yeah.
So Keenan Allen, you probably throw Quentin Johnson in there. Like I only feel good.
Mhm.
I don't even love Ladd this week because like I got to see it. Obviously, I'm going to play him because he's been getting the targets over the last couple weeks. Last week was a little bit different. But between him and Gadsden, like those seem to be the focal points of this offense right now. But how many points can this team even put up with their offensive line injuries?
It's true. No, I mean, if we had to talk specifically Chargers this week, I'm playing Ladd and Gadsden. You can play Herbert. He's been pretty good. And then outside of that, I'm sitting the rest. So
Who's your flex?
my flex sit is going to be Jordan Addison. So Jordan Addison came out of the gate pretty hot. He was averaging about 15 points per game at the beginning with Carson Wentz. He had a touchdown saver against the Chargers in week 8. And then with JJ McCarthy, didn't look too great. Like he's been on the way down. So match that up with a game against Baltimore. And I know green matchup, but Baltimore, since they've gotten healthy, has almost felt like a smokescreen. They've actually been pretty good on defense the last 2 weeks. So that really concerns me with going out there and trying to play the number 2 to Justin Jefferson with a quarterback that's unproven.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. The Ravens defense has been better, which concerns me for sure. He would be, of all the wide receivers, though, that we have mentioned in the sit category, he would be the one I'd like to start the most. So out of those 4, I would like to play him, but I still don't want that option. But it is there is 4 teams on bye. No Rashee Rice.
Can I back Cody into a corner again? Okay, so I'm sitting him in the World Cup. My receivers starting over him are Zay Flowers, Marvin Harrison, Devontae Smith, Ladd McConkey.
So I get why you're playing those people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably do the same thing. But Marv scares me a lot. Seattle's defense is playing so good right now. And honestly, he had a really good first half. And I think he had 1 catch in the second half against Dallas. Now, they missed him on the potential game sealing catch and stuff like that. So he's still getting targets. They just didn't turn into catches.
Yeah.
So Marv scares me a lot. Like, I don't know if I have the courage, which is why he's on the sits list, to play him over a Marvin Harrison. But if we get to Monday and you're like, dude, I should have played Addison over Harrison, I didn't have the courage to put him on the sit list, but he was a guy that scared me because of the matchup and because he had such a good first half in Dallas. I think people are going to be like, oh, Marvin Harrison is back. They're going with Jacoby Brissett. I think it works out for him long term. I don't know about this week.
It's a good argument, and I do think there's a chance that Marv underperforms, Addison overperforms, but I just feel like the way the trajectory is going, I feel more comfortable playing Marv. Matchups are fairly similar. I mean, I guess technically Addison has the better one, but if I'm over accounting for the Baltimore like resurgence that's happened over the last 2 weeks, I guess. And then Seattle is, I think, somewhere around 10th against receivers, so slightly better middle of the pack.
Just trying to look last week. The other interesting note is JJ McCarthy is back. So he only caught 2 balls on 4 catches last week.
And then had a rush, I believe, was the other thing I saw. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So that learning curve.
Yeah, it's interesting situation. I mean, we can debate again on Monday when you and I are fighting about other things, about fighting about that too. Sounds like good. We'll add to the agenda card.
I won't have time for that.
That's why we're going to have the moderator on with us on Monday.
What a tease.
Let's go to streams of the week, Cody. All right. In this category, we go with a quarterback, a tight end, and a defense that are usually less than 60% owned. Sometimes we have to kind of peak slightly over on some of these positions that we think could be good fill-ins off the waiver wire for your team this week. I always start this one off. I'm going to start at quarterback. There's not a lot of quarterbacks I liked under 60% owned, if we're being honest. So I'm going to go with the guy who's been the most consistent and in a game that I think is going to have to be a shootout. And I'm going Marcus Mariota against Detroit.
Yeah, I hope you have a quarterback on your roster and you don't have to stream this week because it is not pretty out there.
Yeah.
Mariota, obviously there's a reason he's a backup. You're honestly hoping that they get a lot of garbage time points or he gets a rushing touchdown or something like that. And that's kind of the upsides of him. For me, this was the hardest thing we had to pick for this week's show. Obviously, if Sam Darnold is there, I was able to pick him up in a league. He's 62% owned. I'd pick
I
him up.
had Sam Darnold typed in mine before I realized he was at 62 and backed him out. So I want to say you and I are on the same page.
So that's the guy I would look at against the Cardinals. But I talked about the matches. I don't like Brissett versus the Seahawks. I thought about even like old man Rodgers against the Chargers, but I didn't love that one. If Brock Purdy plays, he would be an instant stream of the week. He would go to my number one guy. But because the goal is to keep it under 60%, the last guy that leaves me is one Mr. JJ McCarthy. So good luck.
So good luck is a great way to put it. There's just not a whole lot out there at streaming quarterbacks this week. Like when I looked, it was what Flacco's normally a guy we'd go to. He's on bye. Stroud's out with a concussion. You could play Tua against Buffalo. Congratulations.
No.
Or whatever the Saints guy's name is. I heard it was Shuck. I thought it was Show.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce
Whatever.
that.
Yeah. Like either way, no. It's it's bad. Bryce Young against New Orleans, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other quarterbacks here. So honestly, like the people that are owned, Caleb is too high versus the Giants. Matt Stafford's too high versus the 49ers. Daniel Jones is too high versus the Falcons. Like then there's Jordan Love versus the Eagles, but you can't trust the consistency of that offense. I mean, he might be actually. Then JJ McCarthy versus Baltimore. It's a green matchup, but then you talked about the Baltimore being better since they got Roquan Smith back and other pieces. So then it's like, all right, maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe like Trevor Lawrence, not against Houston with no weapons. Yeah, it's tough out there.
Use your gut, find your favorite matchup. Look at some of those guys that we can't say for like the qualifiers of this segment, but are probably available in your league. Like Sam Darnold. Cody and I both picked up a Sam Darnold this week, even though he's not technically qualifying for what we're doing here.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if we wanted to get crazy this week, like maybe a Justin Fields for the running ability, like in a desperation play. But quarterback
throws for more than -10 net yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So very tough streaming week this week with the bye weeks and injuries and all that stuff.
Definitely. Tight end, I couldn't find much better. I was this close to running back Theo Johnson from last week. And then I decided to go to what might not be the best streaming matchup, but somebody who has potential after an injury, and that's Luke Musgrave versus the Eagles. I don't know how involved he's going to get with the Packers. I know a couple people who are adding him just in case they kind of try to put him in the Tucker Kraft role. I know he had a couple of catches in the second half last week. I'm not super confident, but I mean, when it comes to tight ends, you hope he gets 5 to 7 points low, and it's possible.
Yeah, I'm not chasing the Luke Musgrave, aspects. Him and Tucker Kraft could not be more different of tight ends. And I'm trying to think of comps just in terms of athleticism. I'm not saying in good players or something like that. But Musgrave is almost like your Isaiah Likely, Marvin Andrews, maybe a Jawan Johnson, your receiver guy for sure. They're not blocking. They're out there to play big receiver. Where Tucker is more like your George Kittle. He is a really good receiver, but he might even be a better run blocker. That's kind of where, or at least a more well-suited guy. I think in terms if you're looking at the formations, I don't think you'll ever see Luke Musgrave. Okay, I shouldn't say ever. He'll be there a couple times on the end of the line. He's always gonna, if he does, and he'll probably start there and then stand up, take a couple steps out, and spur out to kind of the slot. Like they're just very different players. And maybe they get them involved. And I talked about on Monday's show, maybe this injury is not going to make the team better because the team is not better without Tucker Kraft, but maybe it causes them to like reevaluate their playbook and try some different things. And maybe that's where they start to use Musgrave's skill set, which is differently, and it opens things up for him. So I'm not chasing the points, but I get it. It's tough out there. I was in the similar boat. Like, do I just run back Colston Loveland? I couldn't do it. I think he'll be in for a down week. I think too many people will be chasing those points. So I'm going to take a flyer on Jawan Johnson because why the heck not? He catches touchdowns sometimes. Not as often. Yes.
Yeah. I watched way more of that game than I thought I would last week because my wife's World Cup team is literally all Rams. She got 4 of them. It's a great time. But the only times that I saw any kind of life out of the Saints offense was when they were throwing to Juwan Johnson. So maybe we're going to get a little bit of a, safety net kind of situation, and you're going to see him being involved a little bit. The only other spark I saw was from Taysom Hill. You're welcome. We're not starting him yet.
Yeah, we're not starting Taysom Hill. I'm surprised he didn't get traded to the Broncos, honestly.
That would have made too much sense. That's why. We mentioned potential rushing upside for Justin Fields when you were talking about potential quarterbacks. I have the Browns defense against the Jets because I don't think that's going to happen. And I think we're much more likely on the side of the -10 net passing yards. It's bad. And the Browns defense is good.
Yeah, I like the Browns defense this week. I think you could also potentially look at like it's not my official pick, but like the Steelers with the Chargers, but we picked enough from that game. So I went in a little bit different direction. I'm going to go with those Baltimore Ravens. I know they're going to have the little number next to them that says they are a bottom third ranked defensive special teams unit for sure, but they got to play Miami last week. They got 15 points. Obviously, they're playing Minnesota. Better offense. They just put up enough points to beat the Detroit line. So, but I still think with the J.J. McCarthy question marks at quarterback, it is a good matchup. And you get the bonus of getting them for 3 weeks as a stream of the week. As after that, they go Cleveland, then the Jets. So this is not just a stream for this week. This is a stream for the next 3 weeks, but I will not be putting them in the segment because it's no fun to pick the same team each week.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. We did the same thing with the Patriots a few weeks ago because they had a string of easy matchups as well, and that worked.
And you know where the Patriots are currently ranked in DST?
Top 5 at least, right?
Number 1.
There you go. They had the string of good matchups, and it worked out. There you go.
Oh.
I mean, the Ravens had what 4 of the first 5 weeks in the negatives, which is why they're so low. But I mean, since week 6, 8, bye week 7, 16, and they scored 16 against Cleveland in week 2. So I like where you're coming from, Cody.
Yeah, I think this is a good team to add now and get ahead of the curve.
All right, we are looking at games of the week now. I don't think we have a bumper for this one.
We don't.
I knew it was going to happen. All right. This is a better slate, in my opinion, than we've had in recent weeks. There was actually a couple of things I think we could have picked. So what do you have as your favorite game of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do the classic Cody thing where I'm like going to name here a couple different matchups. Obviously, keep an eye on the Colts, how they rebound. They get the early game in Berlin this week, Falcons, the Colts. I'm going to keep my eyes on that one for sure. I'm not going to talk about the Monday night game. We'll talk about that enough on Monday. I don't like George. Just remember that. You should know all that about that. But for me, when I look at these games, there's one that stuck out to me like a sore thumb, and that is Rams 49ers. These games are always close. They're always tight. We don't know that, both teams are coming up and a little banged up. We're expecting Puka Nacua to play. We're not 100% sure on Brock Purdy. It doesn't sound like Ricky Pearsall, but these two teams are going to fight tooth and nail. They're both sitting at 6 wins. Could be a big game for the division. Could be a good big game for playoff seeding. And I'm just fascinated to see how this all comes together. And we talked about trades at the top of this. And a team that was absent from trades was the San Francisco 49ers. There was a lot of talks about them trying to get an edge rusher to, still be competitive this year. And they didn't do it because they believe in, I guess they got Keon White a week ago, but they didn't do it. how do they compare with a division rival in a game that they're going to want to win to stay ahead of their division rival that has the same record as them heading into the week.
No, great game. Two teams we both had in the top 7 in the NFC when we were talking about it on Monday. And the Rams, a lot of people are considering top team in the NFC right now. So it's a really good measuring stick game in a divisional matchup. Nice that it's in the 4:00 window. Not nice there's only 3 4:00 window games, but I thought that's where you're going to go when you were talking earlier.
Nah, man, we got to stop this 3-4 o'clock window games for sure.
It's a little bit of a lighter slate with the game in Germany and then the 4 teams on bye, but it's not that light.
Still 7 in the first window. We could easily have made this, I don't know, 6-4.
Don't worry, we can still do the Octobox then because we can do 7 games in the Red Zone studio.
Yes, I believe Red Zone is the reason why we do have this stuff.
Hopefully the witching hour is good at least. My game of the week. So I was looking at a couple different ones as well. If Jaden Daniels was in, Lions Commanders, I think would have been the game that stuck out to me. Obviously, still a decent game. We have to see
they're going Jets Browns
back. I was actually going to make the joke. I think the game of the week is Saints Panthers because Saints in a divisional game looking for a rebound. Panthers, which one's going to show up? I'm just kidding. If you like defense, you can play Browns Jets. But no, really, I'm going to go to the 1:00 window, and I'm looking at Patriots Buccaneers. So Bucs still banged up, but they've been playing well regardless of it. Patriots, one of the most underrated teams in the AFC. I think this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one too, and would not be surprised. I mean, I don't know what the lines are. I should be better prepared for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots come away with the victory in that one. They're playing really good football right now. Drake May is having an incredible sophomore year. The Buccaneers, you mentioned their injury, but they're coming off of a bye. So how do they look? Do they look like the Lions? Are they a little bit more well rested? Maybe getting some pieces back, not their big pieces yet, but yeah, I do like this one a lot.
All right. Why don't we touch for a minute or two, because it doesn't have to be long, on the what we consider snooze fest of a Thursday night game between the Raiders and the Broncos. Raiders underdogs by 9.5, over under 42.5. Anything to mention here besides some of the start sets we gave earlier and some of the questions?
No, I don't have too much for this one. I'm just pulling up the inactives as I'm talking through it right now to see if there is any big names. I am interested to pay attention to how this Raiders offense looks now that they got rid of Jacoby Myers. Not that he was doing a ton. I don't even think he played last week and stuff like that. But now that he's not there, how does it look? Do they, is it the Brock Bowers show? Do they start to?
It was already the Brock Bowers show last week.
Yeah, no, for sure. He got 3 touchdowns. It's not, I was saying, like, do they start to maybe work in a Jack Beck or some of those younger guys they got, or just more pepper feed Brock Bowers? How does that look? I did not realize, so I'm glad I looked this up. In the inactives, Pat Surtain is inactive. Did not realize he was banged up. That's on me. So is Marvin Mims Jr. So some interesting names there at the top, but this Broncos team should still run all over this Raiders team. But it's Thursday night. It's divisional. Crazier things have happened. And this league, there has been no more, there's not a team this season, AFC, NFC, that feels unbeatable. I'll put it that way.
It's true. It's one of the more even seasons that we've seen. And there are some pretty bad teams, and the Raiders would be in that. But I've also seen some of those pretty bad teams step up and play really well for a week or two so far. So it's not out of the question. No Marvin Mims makes me kind of like Troy Franklin, even if it's not for your fantasy odds, maybe for a DFS or a anytime touchdown or something like that, if you're looking at that for tonight. And I'm interested to see how the Raiders receiver core breaks out.
We don't have the person in the comments on this episode for, all right, if you had $100 free bet, who would you put it on? George saying Troy Franklin.
I don't mind it. I mean, if I'm trying to be safe, I'm picking Brock Bowers, but
I got you.
I'm sure that's not going to net you that much money because I'm sure his odds are ridiculously unfavorable.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's not much else. Hopefully the game is better than it looks like on paper. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, I agree. But it's been fun, Cody. Looking forward to Monday before the Eagles and Packers square off, and hope you do well in fantasy this week.
I appreciate that. I need some bounce backs. I've had a rough week, rough couple weeks. I've thought about just throwing in the towel in a couple leagues because one league I basically am, but I'm starting. Matt, but hopefully you guys have good luck in your fantasy these upcoming games as well. Like George mentioned, we'll be back live on Monday at 6:30 to recap the week and get you ready for the epic Packers Eagles push ban showdown. And between now and then, if you have a question, hit us up on social media at the Couch GMs, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, all those good places. I'm Cody Roquette. That's George Kurth, and we'll talk to you all next week.